Well, it is. We'll see how the audio comes out. You'll notice I'm speaking very clearly.
Yeah.
So that way people can hear me, hopefully, on the recording.
Okay.
If they can't, then they'll just wonder what the hell I'm on about. Right, so macro magic. So Courtney, would you come on the front for me? So. Now you might look at Courtney and go, she doesn't look as lean as she does in the pictures. But we have pictures of Courtney who came in for a photo shoot we did right before she was. How many days was it before you got on stage? Like 5 days.
5 days.
Like 5 days. So Courtney was going to go on stage 5 days before, and she was super lean. Here's what I'll say: is that she was very lean, and everyone was like raving on Facebook, like, "Oh my God, how can I get where you're at?" The discipline it takes for these figure athletes is brutal. Basically, Courtney was so water deprived at the time that she would basically she was actually good, but her friend Faith was doing shoots for us as well. And for the video part that we shot, Faith was required to do 10 reps of a bicep curl. And Faith would get to 10, and then she would stop, and I'd say that was good, but next time just do a couple of extra reps just in case we need it. And she'd say, no, you don't understand. If I do any more, I'm going to pass out. And they would say, why? And she says, I'm in a low water phase right now, so 10 reps is all I can give you. And she would literally do this, like 10, smiling at the camera, nice, put it down, and she would go, like that, like literally amazing. Sure. But Courtney has lived it. She's done it. She's lost it. Right now she's not as lean because she's in a muscle gaining phase because she's moving to a different category. Would you talk a little bit about where you were? So before you get to macros, would you talk a little bit about that and also stand up against that way you can get.
Sure. About computing.
Yeah, talk about computing real quick. So like, what you did and sort of some of the things you did to get there.
Okay, so I don't know if there are any pictures, but I did a bikini competition first. So I trained for about three months. I was on prep for this competition, and it was strict diet plan, water. Hired someone to tell me what to eat, when to eat it, what to work out. Woke up 5 o'clock in the morning, 45 minutes fasted cardio. It was really time consuming, one of the best experiences that I ever did because I learned so much about myself. Like you learn your willpower. When you see your friends eating pizza in front of you, I've cried a couple of times during that. Yeah, I've had friends like you thought you were your friends, then you start crying over like peanut butter, like things like that. I did in my first show 6 weeks ago. I fell in love with it. I didn't place well. I went in being too muscular in that category, so I'm moving up to another category, and I'm actually competing, hoping to qualify for nationals in October and November. So right now I'm in the bulking phase, which is kind of great because I don't have to really count calories right now. So I enjoyed that. But then again, in a couple of months, I'm going to get back on it, slowly start to lean out, and go from there. The main thing that I have to focus on, which I think everyone really should, it's huge. Nutrition is, they say 80-20, like 80% nutrition, 20%. It's true that abs, are made in the kitchen. No matter how many crunches you do, you can't out-train a bad diet. So macronutrients are the 3 things that your body needs to survive, pretty much. You need in large quantities. You have your fats, your carbohydrates, and your proteins. And you split them up. You want an even balance. You can have, according to the Bonza nutrition plan we do, so on a high carb day, 40% carbs, 30%.
That's the next slide.
Next slide.
Let me have that time. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Explain to them the
I'm just foreshadowing.
What a protein, what a fat, what a carb is.
Cool. So proteins, fats, and carbs. So just like if I'm not supposed to say something, just give me some like nod or something. Protein, essential for muscle healing. You want to get that in after your workouts. Primarily, you have like they say like 30-minute to 2-hour window. Protein's really good foods for protein, egg whites, chicken, steak, like lean meats. You want to focus on because it really helps rebuild your muscles. When you work out, your muscle tears. You get little muscle tears, and that protein helps rebuild it, helps you build muscle. Your fats, You want to focus on, you get a lot of fats also from cooking food, so I like to cook my food in coconut oil opposed to olive oil, and also I eat avocados. Those are just two things that are good for fats. And then carbs. Some people think they try is it keto, like no carbs, which does work for some people. But your brain needs carbs to function. So Jamie can tell you, before I was going into my show, I was so low carb, it was like embarrassing. Like I had a couple of clients come in and I'd be like looking at him and I'd be like, he'd be like, how are you today? And I'd be like, because your brain truly needs it to function.
It was almost like a minor form of Alzheimer's you had.
Oh, it was horrible.
You were like having trouble putting words together.
Yeah, he told me like a couple weeks later, he was like, thank God you're eating carbs again. I was like, but I made it through without getting like hangry, like that term where you're like, they say like we joke like carbs are our best friends. So carbs like rice, well, sweet potato is a really big one that I love. It's really good. It's a good carbohydrate. But what you want to do is balance these throughout the day. And so try to get one in each meal. Let's see, another thing is, I'll just throw this out here, I don't know if Jamie's going to cover it. So I eat like 6 to 8 meals a day. And good sized meals to the point where I'm like, I don't even want to eat this because it's so much. Like chicken, rice, and just balancing them throughout the day. So when you eat more, those 6 to 8 meals, your body and your metabolism will kind of speed up, because if you don't eat a lot, if you eat like 2 meals a day, your body will go into like a starvation mode and will hold on to that food that you're eating. So when I go into prep, like, right now I'm not really counting calories, I'm just eating, say, according if you see it, you eat it. And so that's pretty much what I'm doing right now. But when you get into that prep and you start timing your meals every 3 hours, and you can eat like a large quantity, a good amount of food, and your body's still going to lose weight because it doesn't think that, well, you know what, you're not going to feed me in a couple hours, so I'm going to hold on to everything that's inside of you right now. So that's a really big thing. So yeah, what it just comes down to it is the macros. There's a lot of great websites online and stuff. You can research, healthy macros or healthy foods in each category. So my biggest thing is really just balance them out and pick the healthy choices. Try to stay away from the fried foods, the sugars, and drink lots of water, like Jamie was saying.
Thank you. Thank you. Keep going in your hand. That's very good. Thank you. So everything Courtney says is dead right. Another thing to note though is that a lot of us go, man, I wish I could look like those people in the magazines, right? And so one of the things to realize that actually when people get that lean, it's usually for their shoot. It's usually for the shoot. Thank you, Gareth. So it's usually for the shoot. So it's on that day. So again, the point to note is that you have no idea what that person has gotten through or what they do after the cameraman says, and that's a wrap, right? So they might be just on the ground and like, oh. So what Courtney says, they're right. So actually, I'm gonna say balanced macros equals willpower. So here's the key thing. So if you're in a position where you don't need to get as lean as Courtney's talking about for a show, but you want to basically find a happy middle ground where you can maintain that eating for a healthy lifestyle. And the key word would be lifestyle, not for a show, but to maintain. Because what Courtney, how much weight did you gain in 3 days after the show?
I don't know about 3 days, but I can tell you I put on 30 pounds in 6 weeks. Woo!
Nice. Yeah, but that was basically. But right afterwards, you were like.
Oh yeah. Well, the night of the show, I went out and I was like, I want French toast and a burger and fries and like a sundae, and then exactly what Jamie said. I lasted about 20 minutes, and my body's like, nope. Yep.
Oh, boom. Then you tried to eat it. Yeah, right. And you missed it for so long. So to find a way that we can slowly come down. Now, when I say slowly, I'm talking about 2 pounds a week. Okay, talking about 2 pounds a week. If we can get 2 pounds a week on, then for most of us, that's going to get us where we want to be, as long as we stick with it. So blood sugar variation, insulin, and willpower. So what is willpower exactly? So we talk about willpower. To me, I look at willpower as being part mental, but also part to do with blood sugar. Because our blood sugar, what happens is when you eat something, say on an empty stomach, let's say, if any of us have, I remember when I was playing basketball, afterwards we had a really hard practice and my friend said, I'm going to go drink I'm going to get a can of Coke. And I was like, yeah, it's so hard I could drink like a whole bottle. He goes, yeah, well, it's so hard I could drink like one of those big bottles. And I was like, well, it's so hard I could drink a 2-liter half-gallon bottle. He was like, let's go. So we both basically walked out of the basketball stadium into the cafe area, bought 2 large bottles, and basically just tried to race each other to drink it, which is embarrassing. But what was more embarrassing was about 10 minutes later, we were both just like, oh, I feel weird. Because basically on that empty stomach, the sugar just hit, and basically like quickly it was absorbed in it. And what happens when you put blood sugar into a body that has an empty stomach? This is really important. This is really important to note, is because if sugar hits an empty stomach, if alcohol hits an empty stomach, okay, we've all seen that, right? It's like, oh, I should have had something to eat before this. Whoa, it is hot in here. Is it hot? So all of a sudden it hits us, right? So when we have that lining in our stomach, though, the blood sugar has something to hit and mix with. It isn't absorbed into the bloodstream as quickly. When we have sugar that hits us, then basically our body then reacts by creating insulin. And that insulin is a really important factor to note, because as insulin is created in the body, is released in the body, then that's kind of like one of those things where if you lived in a neighborhood and every day you saw a police car going by with sirens on, you would not be as likely to basically go wander around in the streets, take a dog for a walk, stuff like that. You start to get conservative, start to be worried about what's happening. Same thing happens when the body senses insulin. Unfortunately, a lot of us are living in a world where internally, police cars are racing through our body on a regular basis, trying to bring this sugar down. Now, because again, with that whole evolution piece, it's only really in the last sort of 100 to 1,000 years that we've figured out how to make things intensely sweet. And in this beautiful country of America, you guys have mastered it to a T. It's like this laser-focused science, where scientists get paid money to create the perfect chip. The perfect Dorito that will have the right mix of sugar and salt and fat. You'll eat the maximum amount, like some sort of a force-fed animal. And then, of course, they do the same thing with ice cream. Okay? This is why, a lot of us, when we break up with a boyfriend or girlfriend, okay, and all of a sudden we're like, it's 1 a.m. in the morning, and I'm like, why is there an empty tub of ice cream on my chest? Right? Why am I watching Golden Girls again? So blood sugar variation and insulin willpower. So what I'll say is this: when we have blood sugar, the body then overreacts and brings a swarm of insulin. That insulin then drives blood sugar down. Then blood sugar drops down, and then we go, something. So then we go so then we quick fix again because the blood sugar is down. So we reach something like candy bar. Right? Yeah, Pop Rocks, whatever you want. Okay, you name it. Some sort of quick fix, right? Nice. Now, I'll ask is anyone in the house diabetic? Please raise your hand if you're diabetic, please. Okay. One of our members has actually lost 80 pounds, and what I loved was when she talked about how her doctor really had a hard time believing her numbers. Because and one of the things that she talked about was that the doctor she had before this doctor that actually said, you know what, just eat, if you're going to eat sugary foods, just pump more insulin into your body, and then that'll be fine, because that'll level it out. And that wasn't exactly working for her, but she's lost 80 pounds following our food plan, and also managed to but the key part that has improved as she's lost the weight is that her blood sugar has gotten almost perfect. It's like the perfect diabetic blood sugar. And what I'd say is following our food plan, by combining macros in the right way, and I'll talk about that, has allowed her to basically have level blood sugar as best as possible. So when the insulin is created, that makes the body want to preserve fat. So the more you can keep your blood sugar within a narrow range, the more happily the body will let the kids go play in the street. The more happily the money market will allow you to invest in things rather than store that money in the mattress. Right? You got me? This mattress right here. So then, and then willpower. And so then as our blood sugar varies, our willpower gets tested, right? And so I have clients who say, that's it, I'm not going to eat. That's it, I want to lose weight, I'm not going to eat, right? So they don't eat. Then after a day, the body goes screw you, you're going to eat. Okay? Because then the body goes, we are starving, tells the brain we need to eat, and then we have this whole ghrelin, leptin sort of battle, which I'll get into in just a second. But what I'll say is this, if we can keep our blood sugar level, and if you eat straight carbs, like sugar, then your blood sugar is going to have all over the place. You know what's great at leveling out carbs? Protein and fat. So there's actually eating meat on the shoulders of giants instead of seeing from the shoulders of giants. The Atkins diet, Courtney talked about it, basically getting into ketosis. What happens is when we have a complete absence of carbs in the bloodstream, that's when the body goes, I need something. Start changing that body fat into energy, please. When we have a complete absence of carbs, the body goes, okay, I'm out of carbs, I don't need carbs in the bloodstream. Yeah, I need to start changing fat into protein, into energy, and I need to fast. Okay, and that's when the body really starts to dump out the fat. So the question is, how do we get to that point? What I'd say is the hard part is, when you get to that point, if you stay there for too long, then you actually start to get to a point where you become hypersensitive to carbs. And then Atkins, who is dead now, but when he died, Dr. Atkins weighed about 300 pounds. And he had not been following his own plan. A lot of people, when they follow Atkins, they say, I followed Atkins, I lost 70 pounds, I did great, I looked amazing, and then I was like, let's get off Atkins, give me some bread. And it was almost like that sort of whole 6-pound reaction thing I talked about. Well, he didn't know what to do with it, was hypersensitive to the carbs, all of a sudden exploded. Okay, well, not literally, but you know what I mean. So, what's your metabolic preference? Here's what's interesting. A good friend of mine, Pharaoh, is a national competitor for physique shows. And he talks about how some of his competitors who are younger, when they want to shed away the fat, shed away the pounds, they'll actually use very lean sources of meat and try to basically like keep it down there. What he found is actually he's actually able to eat fat and not eat carbs. So he can actually have like avocado and saturated fats and all sorts of stuff, which is great because he actually doesn't feel like he's missing out on stuff. And so because when you put fat in things, it's very satiating, right? Now that's Pharaoh. He's 40 plus. His other competitors are in their 20s. What's right for you might not be right for your friend. What's important in terms of macros, your blend of carbs, protein, and fats, is to play with it. To play with it to see what works for you. And if you hit a plateau, play with it again. But know that at no time is it going to be okay to eat fried foods, things of that nature. What I'm saying is you mix up the ratio, because what works for one person, what works for Courtney in that phase, might not work for you. The important part is to understand that we're all individuals. So what I'm going to show you is going to be the general rule, and you will lose weight. But at some point you'll hit a plateau. And if you don't want to hit that plateau, then the second you see your weight leveling out, that's when you start to look deeper. Are you fulfilling the 5 things that we talked about? Have you started to eat foods that are more milk-based, that are more bread-based? You know, have you started to have more whole grain wheat bread? Which you might say is healthy. Yes, it is healthy, but is it conducive to weight loss? I would say no. There's a difference.